Welcome to the Pursuing Freedom podcast. I am your host, Erin Bradley. And if you found your way to this show, you're in the right place because we are here today exploring the reality that success no longer has to feel heavy. And I'm so excited for you to meet my guest today, Roberta Ravella. It's insane because she and I have known each other for over a decade, and we actually met during a season of our lives where we were both in that striving, hustling mode and coming up in the mortgage business. And we've been living parallel lives for the last several years since we both retired our mortgage license. And she's published a book called Open for Business. She started her podcast, The Joy Experiment. If you've been listening to the podcast for a long time now, you probably would understand just from the name of her podcast why she'd be a perfect guest for our show. And in this conversation, we unpack the amazing synchronicities that have been unfolding in both her life and mine, as well as all those who we aim to serve and impact in our work. So I'm super excited for you to meet Roberta, and buckle up because it's an incredible conversation that's going to leave you feeling relaxed, at ease, and also energized and inspired at the same time. So with no further ado, here we go. So, Roberta, we always start from the beginning. And before we get to all the magic that you're creating in the world today and the upcoming live event and all of the exciting things on the horizon, give us a little bit of the backstory, the good, the bad, the ugly, as you came up in the mortgage business and how it's led you to where you are today.
Yeah. So I started in the mortgage business in the 90s. I originated my first loan in 1999. And I had moved from rural North Carolina to outside of Washington, D.C. And I figured I didn't really want to get married and I didn't want to be a secretary. And that's all I knew. So I moved away from those requirements and immersed myself in the mortgage world there in Northern Virginia. And I did that for quite a long time. But what I brought with me was the belief that everything had to be hard. Anything that was worth it was hard. Anything that was going to earn money was hard. And that how I felt and what I wanted didn't matter. But keep your eyes on the prize. Obviously I was doing it for at that point I was doing it for myself. I wasn't married, didn't have kids, so I'm doing this to prove to myself, prove to my family, prove to everybody that I thought just an independent person, that I could take care of myself, that I wasn't who they thought they were, but it turns out I was straight going for love and belonging, which is a wrong place to find it, by the way, if that's where you're looking for it. But long time in the mortgage business, we met coaching with the Freedom Club. Interesting, that was the first time I had ever been coached. And it was the first time that anyone had proposed to me to choose. You're choosing to work at the company you're working at. You're choosing the clients that you're choosing. And to work inside of my values, I didn't really know what they were. I thought I knew what they were. And to do things that were, I'll say, fast forward past the Freedom Club, I got into Perry Marshall's world, which is a lot of, he doesn't call it energetic alignment, but it's like aligning what you do to the person who needs it more. So I was gradually getting closer and closer to where I am now. I retired from the mortgage business to do coaching myself, did business coaching for a little while, and then marketing coaching, strategy and things, because I love marketing and storytelling and all those things. And there as well, I was telling people, my clients, what are your values? Who's the client you really want to work with? And we were centering all their marketing around it. And somewhere along the way, my husband retired. We moved to Florida, and I thought I had put everything exactly where I wanted, that I knew what my values were, and I didn't have any worries like I did when I was 22 years old and in living outside of DC with 50 cents in my pocket, whatever. And I still wasn't happy and I couldn't figure it out. So I started going down this journey of just reading all the business/slash self-help books, right? And I was on the treadmill in the condo building with my book. I could run and read at the same time. It's a skill.
Sounds like it. I could definitely
I know.
cannot do that.
Yeah, not uphill though. So I'm reading the book and he says, if you do everything in this book, you'll have the house you want, the money you want, and the relationship you want. And I was like, dude, I got that. And I'm not happy. What's wrong with me? And so I went on a unlearning journey. I thought I needed healing, which I did a little bit. But the lady that I met that I worked with for 2 years, that was the first thing she said to me. She says, we're going to unlearn a whole bunch of shit. I was like, well, I'm like, how long does it take? And she said to me, When someone told you that Santa Claus wasn't real and you knew it was true, like you believed it, it was over. The next morning, did you think, I wonder if it's really true? Did you put out milk and cookies? I'm like, no. She's, that's how this works. You're going to unlearn it and no more milk and cookies. I was like, I am in. Where do I send the check? Pick me. So I went through the process with her. I think we were together for about 2 years. And I continued in my marketing business, but somewhere in the middle of all of it, it was more like, what are my real values? What does it mean to be in my own skin, to have my own love and belonging, for it to be inside of me? And that's where the joy experiment came from.
So this is so fascinating. And as we were talking about before I started recording, you and I did meet in the mortgage business. And I know that when I found my way to that community, I was at a season in my life in 2015 experiencing a lot of burnout and looking outside of myself for the answers, right? And so
Hmm.
I learned and I implemented. And it was incredibly impactful, incredibly powerful, and transformational for my business. And like you, I got to 2019. I remember having 4 years of just implementation. And I
Yeah.
remember calling one of the coaches and saying, I just had my best month ever by a long shot. And I feel like I have more to ship to port and I'm on the wrong island because I'm still not
Yeah.
like fulfilled and satisfied. And that Santa example is so unbelievably powerful. I've never heard it articulated like that, but it's this realization that once you can't
Yeah.
unknow, and then you can't go back to pretending. And
You
so
can't.
I've been on this journey for a while as well. And what I've noticed is that when I slip out of alignment, which still happens because I'm human, it's so clear that I'm out of alignment. And so the work then is to get back into alignment where everything does happen with ease and joy and flow. Like, talk me through the joy experiment. And that's the name of your podcast, which I love. And I want to hear more about this unlearning journey and how it's led you to that. Because, yeah, talk us
Yeah.
through what that's been like.
It's interesting because everything is lived experience in this thing for me. And I used to validate myself with money and how hard I worked. And then I surrounded myself who validated people who validated themselves with high education. And then if you look on the internet, they validate themselves often with suffering, which I could do, but I really don't like it. So we could dig up the past, but why go there, right? So when I was going through this journey, healing journey, unlearning the whole thing, I was still doing my marketing business. And then I met a friend and we started an AI business together. He was like super smart about coding and all that stuff. So we started a marketing concept around an AI platform. And we got a couple of months in, and I'm like, I love this guy to pieces, but I don't think we're values aligned. And it was that question of, are you gonna force it? Because that's what I would have done in the mortgage business. I would have found somebody who helped me suck it up and just done it because it was a really good concept. It would have made a ton of money, and he was a really good person and super smart. And my whole inner being was like, no. It felt like I was putting my heels in and digging into the cement. No. And I fought it for about a month. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. Because it just kept getting worse and worse. And so when we ended the business, I told my mentor at the time, I was like, I don't know what to do. I'm just going to start the marketing business again. And she's like, no, you're going to take 6 weeks off. I was like, fine. So my husband and I went to Italy. He's from Italy. We have to go see his parents. You guys can cry for me now. So we go over there every year. And so for the month or so we were there, I didn't do anything. And then when I came back, I was like, I don't want to do the marketing thing. One of my other friends had just shut down her marketing business, and this is what I'm doing. And she slid over this energy work stuff. And I had already done my energetic values, which are very different than the values on paper, like family, wealth. What are all the values cards in the John Maxwell 52 deck, right? Which is a good place to start. I'm not saying it's not. Oh, legacy is always my favorite, which is not a value of mine at all. But I would say those are priorities. And what I had discovered is that my energetic values were things that brought me energy naturally. I gravitate towards them. I work best there. I'm in alignment when I'm there. Things come easily to me when I'm there. And I was thinking, what if I changed my marketing business around to my values, my energetic values? And then it was more like, no, it's time you started being yourself in public. Like saying who you really are and what you really want to do. Just it's time to go public, which was a little scary. It's funny, I had such a hard time doing videos around it when I probably have 300 marketing videos on the internet. And then to talk about my energetic values or to say I did breath work or I believe I'm the creator of my own reality. It was
I
like, I'll
like,
do this from under the table. Just
I love it.
scary. Because I'm a talky person, so are you. We don't have a problem standing in front of a room and saying what we want to say, right? But that was just, it felt so naked and vulnerable. And I'm like, okay, here we go. And my husband's, mind you, he's an engineer. He's a PhD in engineering. So you can imagine him. He's, what are you doing? I'm like, don't worry about it, honey. So, okay, whatever. Right? Like,
Yeah.
he doesn't quite think I'm nuts. He always says, if you believe in that sort of thing. I'm
Yeah.
like, do you believe in that sort of thing?
I think my husband has seen enough proof that it's working that now he's starting to realize that if I say that everything is working out for us, everything always works out for us, there's literally nothing to worry about because we're just funded beyond measure and things just keep happening in our favor. And he now knows it's true. You're a manifesting ninja. And I'm like,
Yeah,
we all can be.
we can.
Yeah. Can we
And
expect?
the first thing I manifested for real, like intentionally, was him, was my husband. I didn't know that's what I was doing, but he was the first person I ever met and dated. And actually, he's my first husband. I always tell him he's my favorite husband. He thinks that's hilarious because he's my only one. But it was the first time I stopped saying what I didn't want and saying specifically what I wanted. I wanted, and there he was.
It's
Who
so
knew?
interesting you say that because we had a conversation on a call yesterday around this very topic of if you talk to me about what you don't like and what you're, then essentially the goal doesn't represent something that you're running towards, it's something that you're running from. And what you focus on expands. So if you want to tell me all the problems, that tells me what you're paying attention to. Because if you want to look for, if you assume it's going to be hard, like you said earlier,
Yeah.
then you're looking for the obstacle to prove yourself right.
Yes.
If you're going to assume it gets to be actually easier and actually joyful, and that this short little life we have gets to be a playful, fun adventure of
Yeah.
unexpected miracles, you get exactly what you start to see those synchronicities happen. And even just this conversation happening, the timing that it's happening, you and I have known each other for over a decade.
Yes.
And to reconnect right now, because you and I reconnected through LinkedIn and we talked like a year or two
We
ago.
did. I think it was
But like
longer than that, but it was just wasn't there. It was
we
like,
didn't go this direction. And it's funny
no.
because what you said, can I really bare my soul? And what I've found in being living a parallel life alongside you is like more recently when I'm in rooms where I feel like what everyone is craving are honest conversations, just
Yeah.
authenticity, vulnerability, and truth. And when we
Yeah.
speak to this truth, which is what it connects at the soul level. It's not about like logically understanding what we're
No.
talking about necessarily. And I found that the room full of people are like being brought to tears. And I'm like, I'm not trying to make people cry, but it tells me that something is moving within you and that
Yeah.
you're getting it. And it's this intersection of business and spirituality. And spirituality has like a trigger word to it. So, like,
It does.
talk us through even the power of the pause, your decision to go and disconnect from the mind trying to figure it all out. You went to Italy for 6 weeks and you just turned off. Tell us what
Yeah.
happened in that stillness.
I did a lot of walks that year. The place where we always go, Italy's the original Stairmaster. You've been, it's straight
Yeah.
uphill, both ways. So I was walking every day for about an hour and a half uphill through olive groves that are like 300 years old. Those places have been there. And just to be in a place like that where everything, they've modernized, but everything still happens in such an old way. They're still driving old cars and there was just something about the analogness of it. That was where I needed to be. My phone doesn't work. We have one Italian phone when we're there, and I was in a space where I could just forget about it. And it was so nice to unhook from that and just release that from my nervous system. And what had come to me while I was there was that my nervous system can take all the shit, stress, hair on fire, scream at me, pressure you can give her. We are top tip 1% in that talent. But my nervous system for receiving in joy, for getting what I really wanted, for it. Saying, this is how I really feel and this is what I really desire, and allowing it, nervous system, not so good. And so that's what I did for the 6 weeks, was just work on my nervous system, like breath work a little bit, walking in nature like that with no phone. I would carry a phone with me in case I got lost or run over by an Italian in a Cinquecento. You know how that goes.
Yeah, I bring my phone because of the moose in the woods by me.
You need the phone to, but it was off. So just spending that time alone with myself, not even thinking or whatever, just walking or sitting on the rocks and watching the sailboats go across the Mediterranean and releasing all that on fireness. And I realized for the 25 years I was in the mortgage business, and probably my childhood since who knows when, I was in fight or flight. I was in survival, full on, flat out survival. And that's why everything felt so effed up. That's why I would hit my goals, make more money than I ever thought I could, and then I couldn't do it the next month, or I couldn't do it the next year, or I would throw up until I had to go to the doctor, or whatever. Open a bottle, open the next bottle, let's go, right? I was so disconnected from myself.
Yeah.
And that space allowed me to just find that connection again and be like, what do you really want? How do you want to feel? And there was definitely some tears in there. I'm not a big crier. I don't like it. Got yelled at for it a lot. So avoid.
Yeah.
But also just learning to feel my emotions. And that's something over the last 2 years that I've worked through quite a bit as well. It's just feeling my emotions. It's okay to feel super excited. It's okay to feel sad, disappointed, frustrated. It's okay. You just don't live there, right? Like last week, I sat down and allowed myself to be really mad for about 2 minutes. And then it was good. It was over.
So let me ask you something about the fact that we have the overlap of the mortgage business and then the overlap of the work that we do now. I heard a quote last week that really struck me, and I ended up quoting it on stage at this conference that I was speaking at, which happened to be a room full of female mortgage professionals. And I think it was Alan Watts. And the line was, what if the anxiety we call motivation is just fear with good PR? And I heard that and I was like, wow, that felt like a description of a lot of my experience in the mortgage space. Was that I hear it all the time, even with the people that I work with, that they'll say things like, things are going really well, but.
Yes.
So even when they've achieved the reality
Yes.
that they were striving for, there's still the baseline fear, the program that within has not been dismantled. So now that we're living in the manifestation or the materialization of a deep desire we had, which was to get to this point to earn this money. And then there's a but, the fear is, will it last? Am I going to have to keep going? I'm really exhausted. Like, can I sustain this? Right. There's just still all this programming. And it's interesting because with all of the striving and seeking and investing in ourselves to get the coaching, to get the strategies and all the processes,
Yeah.
right? There's a reality in which I'm starting to observe that there's a borrowing of other people's fear in that process.
Yes.
Because even the frameworks were developed out of a human's
Yes. Fear.
desire to escape the rush, right?
Yes.
So there's this pervasive baseline there. And I'm sure it's not just in the mortgage space. It just so happens you and I came up in that
Yeah.
industry. But would you agree that there's a heavy prevalence of that?
Yes. And one of my friends, I quote this from her a lot: what you build in fear, you don't end up in joy. What you build in lack, you don't end up in abundance. You can't have an unhappy journey to a happy place. If you build the bricks out of shit, you end up with a shit house.
Yep. So
And that's
powerful.
why it never feels like enough. That's why it always feels, oh my gosh, the first time I made like obnoxious money in the mortgage business, I woke up 2 days later, like literally projectile vomiting. I was so stressed out and I was so just, and a lot of it was, and my sales manager at the time is, you're going to be really depressed because you probably can't do that again. I
Wow.
was like, okay. And he's, and if you can, it'll be just as hard. And I'm like, oh, okay. But
Man.
that's what we did, right? And you were off passing off or delegating that stress to other people, to your processor, to the loan officer assistant, to the loan partner, to 10 loan officers in your office. But if it's all built in, don't stop, because if you stop, it'll come crashing down. And right, then that's exactly what's going to happen.
Yep.
And
I
there's
think, I
no
mean,
woo in that. There's no law of attraction to do it. That's just, you built the thing out of sticks. Guess what? You got a house of sticks.
it's so interesting because what you talked about earlier in regards to having that nervousness of stepping into your truth and having these types of conversations, and I would say this level of conversation, it can be very frustrating for someone who's still deeply trapped in the outdated programming
Yes.
of a fear motivated lifestyle, business, whatever it may be. And I'm also feeling that there's a craving for it
Yes.
because when we start having these honest conversations, we get to start to give ourselves permission now to live in the joy and let the joy be the
Yeah.
compass. And so many of the women that I work with inside my coaching community have, in just the last year or two, as the conversations have evolved to this level of clarity, right? And the clarity that we can access when we go away, when we disconnect from the busyness, when you get the truth
Yes.
and you start to realize you can't unknow it, then there's women that are just like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm
Yeah.
choosing, I think I'm going to choose joy. I think 2026, my year is just going to be
Yeah.
joy and whatever feels like fun for me. And guess what? We are now recording this on May 19th. And those women who have chosen it are still thriving. They're in
Yeah.
abundance because they're completely untethered to the outcome. They're not striving for a day in the future or an outcome that will give them the permission to chill out and lighten up and have fun. And as they
Yeah.
lighten up and have fun, they become the magnet for the opportunities.
Yeah. Here's something I talk about a lot, like in my writing, in my books, and with my clients. Your definition of ease needs to grow up. Because you tell somebody ease and flow, or it could be easy, it doesn't have to be hard, and they imagine their teenage son playing video games instead of doing his homework, or they imagine themselves on the couch watching Lifetime movies while they eat Doritos, whatever. If you listen to a podcast and they're talking about the broverse, when they talk about things, it's not easy, nothing good is easy. They always give that as the example. And that's the opposite of what they're doing. What we're talking about isn't the opposite, it's different, because there's so many ways to arrive at this outcome. If I want to, if you just look in the mortgage business, I'll go back to my marketing background. They used to tell us you need to market this way, this one way, because this is the easiest, cheapest, fastest. This is when how, and you're just going to do it. You're going to suck it up. I hated it, and I forced myself to do it. I did everything I could to just force myself to do that one thing. There are 1,000 ways to market, but I had such blinders on. There's no way it could have been easy for me. Easy for me would have been finding a group of women to network with that I liked.
Mm-hmm.
That's not laying on the couch and hoping a magic wand comes by. Easy for me would have been when something popped into my head, hey, you should call Erin, see what she's up to. Instead of saying, no, Erin's busy. No, I have to do my calls. No, that's not work. Listening to myself. So, our definition of ease and flow needs to grow up. I don't think any of us are interested in doing nothing. We're just interested in having a good life
Yeah.
and enjoying the things that we're doing to the ends that they bring us.
Yep. It's so true because ever since these things have started to click and become clear, there's been this sense of peace and ease and joy within my nervous system that has me feeling like retirement's not even a word. I don't because retire
Yeah.
from what? I'm just doing what is fun. I'm having so
Yeah.
much fun. I got everything I get to do is something that I get to do because I choose it because it's fun.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't feel like fun, if it feels like should or have to or need to, if there's
Hmm.
resistance in it, it's probably not for me. And that's not to say that we don't still have to notice the edge of our comfort zone, right? Like
Absolutely.
we can get curious about the edge of the comfort zone. We don't want to resist completely engaging in life because we've got to notice if there's an outdated story of why I should or have to or need to, right? Like if we,
Absolutely.
but if you're like called to something, you get an impulse and it sounds fun, then yeah, do it. Why
Let's do
not?
it.
It's like I don't
But
have anything scripted anymore.
yeah. And here's the challenge I often give to that for people with that. When like, you can't learn anything and grow anything if it's not new or different or hard or uncomfortable. I'm like, yeah, that's really cool. But first of all, my definition is for me, yours is for you. I watched a podcast a couple weeks ago where I always butcher this dude's name, but he climbed Taipei, the Tower of Taipei, right? And he was on Rich Roll's podcast. And he was saying something about how he was looking for the easiest route. And Rich kept saying to him, it's hard. That's hard. That's crazy. You're climbing this tower and you've got no tether on you. You're telling me it was dirty. You're telling me all these things. And he's, yeah, man, but I want to have fun. And Rich would not wrap his head around it. I'm like, Rich, not fun for you. Not fun for me. I'm not going to climb Taipei. I don't care whatever. But we always are looking outside and we're taught to look so far outside of ourselves for satisfaction and for what makes us happy and what brings us joy. For some people, it's very simple things. You could just go to an ashram if you wanted to, right? But you don't. If you did, you would. And you don't want to climb Everest either. Your life is somewhere in there. And when you find your groove, like you're doing now, and you find that the things they start coming to you and they're easy because you want to do them, not because they require no skill.
So, how do you help someone unpack that when they are paralyzed by the circumstances that they're not pleased with and the feeling that they won't be able to access the energy of joy and satisfaction until they change the circumstances? When the reality is that when we shift from within, we start to magnetize the opening of the doors that are infinite, right? And how, yeah, when you're talking with somebody that you've been coaching or through the podcast, so
Okay.
how do you help them wrap their head around that?
Yeah. So, how I help them wrap their head around that is the way that the lady who I worked with, this is how she helped me do it. Two ways. We talked about, so when I first started working with her, I was like debilitatingly almost anxious over money. And I had more money in the bank and at my personal disposal than I'd ever had in my whole life. And I had texted her one afternoon. I'm like, I really need to talk to you. So she calls me and I'm like literally in a panic. And she's okay, tell me what's going on. I'm like, I had put her fees on a credit card. She'd give me some credit. It was crazy how I was thinking about everything. And I was like, and I know what I owe you is less than 1% of the assets I have access to. And I can't get away from this feeling. It was oppressive. And she's okay, so back it up and let's think about a time where you felt like you had enough money. And I went back to my first real commission check in the mortgage business when I had already paid my rent and I paid off all the crap on my credit and I paid off my credit card bills and I got a 4,000 and change commission check and nobody needed any of it. And she's all right, how did it feel? I'm like, no strings attached. Like I felt like I had so much money. And that's not a small amount of money. And to other people, it's no money. I had looked at handbags that cost more, but it was a lot of money to me at that point. And whatever. I thought she's tell me more. I'm like, you know what? I remember this one time I had $40 and we went to Boston and had the best time because none of us had any money. And we just kept going through, and it was like at all these different points of money. When I had made $40,000 in 1 month in the mortgage business and I puked for a week, it felt better to have $40. And she's, that's what you're looking for. And that was Santa Claus for me, man. I was like, wow. Because she used to tell me, you're looking for the feeling before. And I'd be like, you were so full of shit. You were so full of shit. And that was such an eye opener. And then not long after, my the women in my family are quite tormented over our weight. So we have a long history of eating disorders. So I was supposed to be on my Zoom call with her, and I was having a really hard time getting dressed. And I didn't want to just put on sweats, yoga pant, and whatever. I was trying to go in, I'm trying to force myself into my closet to get dressed. And I got dressed. I've cried the whole time. I like cleaned myself up and I got on the Zoom and she's, whoa, what's going on? And I'm like, I just saw my blah, blah, blah. Just, can you just tell me what size pants you're wearing right now? I was like, a size 6. I'm normally an 8 to a 10, right? And I was in a size 6 and I had to force myself to put on my pants and they buttoned and I didn't have a problem zipping them. She's all right, let's go back to the feeling. When's the last time you felt really good in your body? And it just broke that for me because I had felt so bad and really good in every stage of money in my bank and every size in my closet. And then
Wow.
that's when it really hit me. I was like, wow.
I've heard, I think it was Neville Goddard talk about how to tap into sort of the vision, okay, the desire from the memory of it already happening. And
Yes.
if you could time travel in your morning routine, your breath work, meditation, whatever, and you get to a place where you're looking back on the experience having already unfolded. Maybe it's a romantic relationship, maybe it's the second home by the beach, maybe it's whatever. And
Yes.
that from the place where the energy, like the newness is gone,
Hmm.
and you're now just it's normalized, because if you can normalize it in your nervous system, you can be a
Right.
match for it, right? What are some of the ways in which you access that energy, where we move from the mind down into a more regulated nervous system? What are some of the practices that you do personally to start your day or to prepare yourself to receive?
Yeah. So the first thing I do every morning when I wake up, before I get out of bed, I notice everything around me. So I don't wake up with an alarm clock. I wake up around 6:30 every morning. Usually I notice how cool it is in the house, which I love. I notice my sheets. If my husband was not snoring the night before, I notice that he's in bed with me. If he was snoring, I notice that I'm in the guest bedroom all by myself.
That was me last night.
um, yeah. Is it light outside? Can I hear the birds chirping? So just before I even get out of bed, I want to notice everything around me I can that I appreciate, that feels good to me. And I started that because I noticed years, like 2, 3 years after I was out of the mortgage business, I would still wake up and go, what day is it? What's due? Who did I
Mm,
call? Where's the appraisal? Oh, that shock, right? Fuck, I'm
yeah.
behind. And I'd heard a few people talk about it. I heard Brene Brown talk about it as well. That most of us wake up and we're already behind before we even get out of bed. And so that's my solution to that. And I've just kept doing it. So no matter what, if I need to then get out of bed and go, or if I have hours to meditate or go to the beach or do breath work or whatever, those minutes set me for the day. And it's nothing grand. Like sheets, cool air, non-snoring husband. It's nothing. And then off I go. I'm doing a practice right now that I've been in with a couple women. We're doing breath work, just 5 minutes. I do it with a recorded sound bath, which I used to think that was the weirdest thing. I met this lady a few years ago at the chamber and she's like, I do sound baths. I'm like, what kind of woo woo shit is that? And now I love it.
I love it too. I love it
I love
all.
it. Yeah, there's a lady on YouTube that she does the rain sounds while she's doing the sound bowls, and I love that. It's so calm to the nervous system. Five 5 minutes a day of that, and then I'll do journal. I journal a lot, but it's funny. It was two of us in the group the other day that noticed we missed one day. I had 3 days in a row. And I've been journaling for years now and doing my morning gratitude, but just 3 days of very intentional breath work, very intentional appreciations, and then answering very intentional questions. It's 20 minutes. I usually spend about 30 total. And 3 days, my nervous system was so calm and I was just popping things out when I jump on to do the podcast or when I'm thinking about things. I missed one day and by the end of that day, I'm like, oh my God, I had the crappiest day. And I don't know if it was just the universe trying to tell me or my nervous system being like, whoa, what happened? Right. We've been eating chicken and broccoli and you just fed me a Big Mac. Ugh. And one of the other ladies noticed it too. And it was just funny how quickly it happened.
Yeah.
3 days and nervous system already way down. And I will also say there's something about being really intentional. What do I want from this? And if it's just I want my nervous system to calm down. But the serendipities that we're coming out with, this morning I started my stuff, and a lot of times I'll turn on to see if there's a Abraham Hicks on YouTube that I want to listen to. So I did my breath work and I went to get more coffee and I grabbed my phone and popped it on and I'm getting ready to do a live event and I'm wrestling with the whole butts and seats thing, which is funny because I did mark I could feel your event. Feeling my event, I'm like, "Ah." So that's one of my intentions. Abraham Hicks is answering this lady about doing events and getting butts and seats. I'm like,
Of
what?
course. Of course.
I didn't even say it out loud. And there it is.
Some of this is it does feel like magic, and it's like I said earlier, it can be frustrating for those of us who spent most of our lives needing it to be hard and then hanging
Hmm.
around people who need it to be hard, and
Yep.
then feeling like if I'm not hustling hard enough, if I'm not striving, if I'm not grinding hard enough, like even getting to the destination and not being fulfilled. It's so interesting,
Yeah.
right? And so it's I love the experience of the unraveling of the synchronicities that come. And even as I've gone deeper with this work, to recognize that there was also a piece of me that when the desired outcome would show up, there was a little bit of a clinging on there, right? Hey, I need some clients. And then clients appear and you kind of want to like grip on and hold on tight because like you're
Okay.
still in that kind of fear energy, right? Versus the energy of like almost neutrality with your energy, with your frequency. When the things come in, it's of course, and there it is, and there it is, and there's
Right.
that, and it's something that one of the women that is a friend of mine comes to my retreats all the time, and she's a real estate professional, Nicole
Hmm.
Mangina, and she does amazing guided meditations, and she's done it virtually and in person for my community. And she'll do this guided meditation, and then you drop in your desire. And then she'll say, now in the next 24 to 48 hours, look for proof that it's working. And just start a note in your phone that says proof it's
Yeah.
working. And it could be
Yeah.
the littlest things like somebody opens the door for you, somebody buys a cup of coffee. Just pay attention to all the little glimmers of light, and you'll start
Yeah.
to see more light and more light. And all of a sudden, the big miracles start happening. And you're like, wait a minute, what? Is this real? And it is. This is
I
real.
know. No, I have to tell you this when I was first really doing it and I started the joy experiment. So sent all my paying clients that way. I'm like, great. And I paid some stuff out of my savings. And I'm like, I just want to pay this credit card bill for my business. I just want to pay it out of my own money, not my savings, not saying to my husband, I'm going to take $1,000 out, whatever. And I relaxed into it and I didn't think about it. And a couple of days later, my bill, I think, was $110. I got a check in the mail, refund check from some insurance company or something that was $113.
It's so good.
I
It's
was
so good.
like, damn, I should have asked for months, not one.
It's so good. And we could go on for
That's
we could
so
go on for
funny.
hours, Roberta. There's so many stories like this that happen. And it's not just me, it's everybody. So that's what's wild, right? Is like when you hang
Yeah,
around enough people that are exploring this and then you see just the momentum that is created in proximity to
absolutely.
others. It is interesting because this energy is contagious and it can be
Yes.
contagious. Fear can be contagious and so
Yeah,
can faith. And it's like
absolutely.
hang around enough people that are practicing the trust and the faith, and all of a
Yeah,
sudden you start to practice it too, and then you get the evidence. And it's like, oh my
absolutely.
God, so good. So before we pop off, I want to make sure that everyone knows about your upcoming event. Also, we haven't even talked about your book. Like I said, we might have to just have you come back on, but like,
Yeah.
what's the book and what prompted you to write it? And then tell us about the event that's coming up. And then we'll talk
Okay.
about how they can get a hold
So,
of you.
yeah, the book is called Open for Business. It's on Amazon. And what prompted me to write it was I had gotten to that point in my own business. And I noticed with a lot of the other women that I was around and was helping that we really wanted to be, I call it in two boats, right? We want to be in this boat, which is the positive or in my values, like trusting myself in my own worthiness, all those things. But I'm so used to the old one and I just can't quite let it go because I would do things like, okay, this is my intention. This is what I get this check in the mail. I do this. And then I would freak out and spend weeks working my ass off on something. You just did the old thing.
Yep.
And so the book it talks through, tells, there's stories in there, but also there's several practical frameworks, especially if you feel really stuck in it, that are not super woo. They can be if you want them to be, that will help you see where you can step out of the old way, the hustle way, the proving way, of that force way, and into the new way of doing things. That's why it's called Open for Business, being
I
open for
love
what
it.
you really want.
I can't wait to read it. I'm so excited. That sounds so good. And then you've got a big event coming up in Delray in June. So soon.
Yeah,
So
June
talk to us about the
22nd.
event.
So it's a workshop. It's actually not big. It's going to be about 10 to 15 women. It's the space we have. It's at Atha Yoga. They have a big spa there, so we're doing it in the spa. But it's a workshop. It's 3 of the experiments that I do with people inside the joy experiment. And so women will come with what thing they're desiring right now, whether it's for their business or their life. Usually people have a mixture because our lives and our business are intertwined. And then we go through the experiments so they can come out with that energy that you're talking about, that synchronicity that you're talking about, and also being open to it and able to receive what they're asking for.
It sounds so good. If I
Yeah.
wasn't going to be on a plane to Scottsdale, which is insane, I'll be in Scottsdale in June. I would be
Wow.
coming to Florida, but that sounds super amazing. I feel like we're going to
Thank
have to
you.
collab on one of these someday
Yeah,
soon.
girl. Are you in
Okay.
Colorado still?
Yep. Still in the
Okay.
mountains. We had
Okay.
snow this week, Roberta,
Oh
but
my
we need it.
God.
We need the moisture. We had a very dry winter, so we're all grateful for all
Yeah.
the moisture. But yeah,
Wow. We hit 90 yesterday, though.
it's wild.
It's like,
So tell us, Roberta, how can folks find you, follow you? Where are all the places?
yeah, look for the joyexperiment.live. So that's the my website, and there you can find access to the frameworks. I have a values assessment you can take if you want to know your values quadrant. And then you can find the podcast there. We're on YouTube at the Joy Experiment Live. Yeah,
Awesome. This has been so fun. So fun to
absolutely.
reconnect and have you here on the show. And yeah, I can't wait to continue the conversation. And hopefully for the audience, we'll bring you back again to do one live. But you and I will be talking for sure soon.
Absolutely.
To all my friends out there, as always, I love and appreciate you. If you loved this conversation, do Roberta a favor and send her a DM on Instagram or a message on LinkedIn. Share the podcast with somebody who needs their day lightened. Don't you feel like your nervous system has calmed just listening to her speak today? Because I do. And I'm excited to share this with everybody in my world. And if you haven't yet, leave it. I don't know how to say this. If you haven't yet left the 5-star review, please do that because it really does help us continue to attract amazing guests like Roberta and help this content get found. I love you guys so much. I appreciate you. We'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in to Pursuing Freedom. If this conversation sparks something with you, be sure you're subscribed so you can keep building momentum towards your life of freedom. And don't keep this to yourself. If you know someone who's on the same journey, be sure to share it with them. And I'll see you next time.